Hey everybody, we are here to recap Thursday Night Football of December 28th. The Browns defeated the Jets 37-20. Trevor Siemian was 32 of 45, 261 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He also had 4 carries for 13 yards. I don't think Trevor Siemian is a hold in Dynasty. He's not going to be their long-term answer at quarterback. They're going to have Aaron Rodgers next year, and my guess would be that they're going to draft a young quarterback later in the draft to kind of develop behind Aaron Rodgers, because I don't think they want Zach Wilson around anymore. I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion that he's not going to be what they expected him to be. So I think they're just going to take their chances with a quarterback maybe 4th, 3rd round, something like that, and have him back up Aaron Rodgers. So I think you could drop Trevor Siemian because there are definitely there's no chance that they could just keep this quarterback running the way it is, because all of these guys have just been terrible since Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Breece Hall, however, is a very strong hold. 13 carries, 84 yards. He also had 9 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. 9 targets as well. This team can't pass protect, and the quarterback can't push the ball down the field either, so they're just checking the ball down to the running back. And good for Breece Hall managers, because he's just been amazing here lately. So obviously we're holding Breece Hall. He's one of the best assets in Dynasty right now. Xavier Gibson, he had a carry for 8 yards. He also had 4 catches for 33 yards on 7 targets. Kind of an interesting Dynasty hold, but I don't think he's a priority whatsoever. Israel Abanikanda, 2 carries for 3 yards. He also had 4 catches for 27 on 7 targets. It's possible. I'll say it this way. I love Israel Abanikanda coming out of college. I thought he was super explosive. Exactly what you want out of a one-cut running back. But with someone as talented as Breece Hall ahead of him, that's going to kind of limit his touches. So I don't know how relevant he's going to be in fantasy long-term. He's an interesting hold because he can kind of supplement what they wanted Dalvin Cook to be this year, what they wanted Michael Carter to be. Israel Abanikanda could eventually be that, and it sounds like they're trying to work him into that right now. So he's going to have some value. I guarantee if Breece Hall goes down next year, people are going to be rushing to add Israel Abanikanda, because he absolutely has some talent, big-time talent, because he was super productive at Pittsburgh also. 1 carry for -1 for Garrett Wilson, but he was also the leading receiver, 5 catches, 50 yards on 10 targets. He's going to break out in a big way next year. I think what's going to happen over the course of the offseason is that people are going to be way down on Garrett Wilson, because everyone was super high, myself included, on Garrett Wilson going into this year, because we thought with Aaron Rodgers it's going to be amazing. And there's going to be some people who don't want to take that chance again because they drafted Garrett Wilson so high. And even though Aaron Rodgers just come back, it's the same situation as it was going into this year. People just feel scorned after, somewhat of an underperforming year from Garrett Wilson. It was okay, but it wasn't top 5 like we were expecting. But that is definitely on the way for Garrett Wilson. He's way too talented to perform the way that he has this year. But that's just how it works for receivers when you have as horrible of quarterbacks as he's had to deal with. Tyler Conklin, 5 catches, 45 yards on 5 targets. I think this is what he's going to be his whole career. 10 fantasy points is going to be the high end. That could be useful some weeks, but I don't think it's necessarily a hold long-term for Dynasty. Kenny Yeboah, he had 2 catches for 28 yards on 3 targets. Jason Brownlee, the rookie, he had 2 catches for 28 yards. He flashed in the preseason. Interesting, super deep league stash, I would think. And Nick Bodden also had a catch for 8 yards. Joe Flacco is ridiculous. 19-29, 309 yards. 3 touchdowns and an interception, 2 carries for 3 yards. They just keep on winning with Joe Flacco. I think this is 4 straight with him now. It's going to be really interesting to see how there are definitely going to be certain fans who are saying, we have to start Flacco. Screw Deshaun Watson. Joe Flacco is our guy right now. I'm not ready to say that just yet, because I think people got to remember Josh Dobbs at the beginning of this year. How, crazy on fire he was. Everything that he was doing in the games looked sustainable too. He was just playing some awesome quarterback, and he just fell off in a major way towards the end of the year. I think that could absolutely be at play with Joe Flacco. But because he joined this team so late, he could sustain that. If he sustains it as long as Josh Dobbs, he could go on an insane playoff run. So the Browns are going to be a really interesting team in the playoffs, because they play such good defense. When they're healthy, they have a good offensive line. they're going to be a sneaky team. I don't know if I want to outright say, hey, the Browns are going to make a run, because I know Joe Flacco is going to crash back down to earth at some point, but right now it is just so amazing. I know anybody who grabbed Joe Flacco off the wire is extremely happy to have him on their team. But so I would hold him in Dynasty just because of that, but next year it's just going to be kind of a mess with Deshaun Watson, especially if Deshaun Watson starts to play bad, because I think he was getting bashed a little bit too much, in the middle of this year, because he was playing okay. It just wasn't like he wasn't setting the world on fire or anything. So there's definitely going to be people who say Joe Flacco should be held for a while, and I think he should, just to see what happens. Jerome Ford, he was really good. 12 carries, 64 yards. He also had 2 catches for 57 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. So awesome stuff there. I think if Amari Cooper is out, he's a really strong play, because he gets these big play opportunities. Kareem Hunt, very touchdown dependent, 10 carries, 31 yards, and a rushing touchdown. I don't think he's a hold in Dynasty, because Nick Chubb's going to be back next year. Jerome Ford, I guess you can hold him just in case, but just keep in mind that with Nick Chubb coming back, he's going to get the overwhelming majority of touches when he's healthy. So just don't expect anything crazy from Jerome Ford going into this year. If you get some offers that are kind of related to what he's done up to this point this year, I would absolutely take those, because I think he's going to fall off hard once Nick Chubb is back into the fold. Pierre Strong, four carries, 29 yards. He didn't have any receiving work. I don't think he's a long-term Dynasty hold. David Njoku was amazing. 6 catches, 134 yards on 8 targets. He did most of this in the first quarter also. That's kind of how the Jets' defense is set up, because they're so good on the edges with their corners. They kind of force teams to throw inside. And early in this game, that's all Joe Flacco was doing. And it looked like the Jets' defense kind of adjusted to that, because after that first quarter, he wasn't as insanely effective. But 6 catches, 134 yards, we will absolutely take that. Elijah Moore, he had 5 catches for 61 yards and a receiving touchdown. If Amari Cooper's out, he's going to be a really strong play. Jordan Akins, he had a catch for 28 yards, the backup tight end. The other backup tight end, Harrison Bryant, had 2 catches for 14 yards and 3 targets. Cedric Tillman, he was getting a little bit involved, but he just doesn't look ready yet. A catch for 8 yards on 4 targets. I think if they end up playing DTR, Cedric Tillman's going to be a really good asset. But we'll just have to see what happens this offseason, because he's clearly a step behind Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper at this point. David Bell, he had 2 catches for 7 yards on 3 targets, and Kareem Hunt wasn't able to haul on his only target. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Follow @WeAreDrafting on Instagram. We got all the rankings for Week 17 already ready to go. Week 17 ads, Week 17 drops, every position. I will see you over there, and thank you again so much for watching.